Alright guys, it's the Tominator back with another one, and I don't know about you, but my excitement for this Olympia is still going, so let's keep it rolling and examine this second call-out now from the Men's Open. This one featured numbers 7 through 12, and was a heck of a second call-out comparison. In any other year, all these guys are cracking the top 10, but the lineup was just so deep this time, not everybody can make the cut. So from left to right, you've got 11th place Iain Valliere, 9th place William Bonac, 8th place Andrew Jacked, 7th place Hunter Labrada, 12th place Michael Krizanek, aka Krizo, and 10th place Rafael Brandao. And in this front double bye, it's Andrew Jacked, baby. The lines, the mass, the stage presence and polish is all top-notch. This is his definitive pose for sure, and is actually the best front double in the business right now, in my humble opinion. I think both the casual viewer and hardcore bodybuilding enthusiast alike can agree that he looks spectacular here. After that, Krizo jumps out with some unbelievable guns. He is locked and loaded. This reminds me a bit of Rolly Winkler for that freak factor with those massive arms and shoulders. He also has some really good wheels, but the pose could benefit with a more exaggerated taper, so either the lats have got to come up, or the waist has got to come in a bit. Ideally both, but that's easier said than done. His coloring was also not very good, it has to be said. He was sort of a sickly, pale, yellowish tone instead of that more ideal bronze glaze. This dude's got to get some proper protan and ditch whatever discount product he's using, because it's not bringing out the best in his physique. That was a bit of a rookie mistake there, and easily fixable for next time. Just contrast him with Brandao there on the right, and you'll see what I mean. Rafael is looking like a certified bronze statue, and for my money, was the most aesthetic bodybuilder in the whole lineup. He represents a sort of happy medium between the open and classic physique. And if the weight caps weren't an issue, he'd be right at home standing next to a Chris Bumstead or Wesley Vissers. Awesome silhouette and proportions, and some nice conditioning to top it off. So that's my top three. Andrew first, and then Brandao, and then Krizo. Everybody else looks kinda meh in this pose. Bonac's too short and a bit blocky. Iain needs more lats and calves to balance out those great quads. And Hunter was holding too much water. Plus, that pec tear is a visible blemish when he raises his arms like that. The front lat spread's another strong pose for Andrew. He's got such a great structure and carves an amazing outline. Even with the midsection pulled in, you can still see the faint tracing of the abs, which is always a good indicator of conditioning from the front. Brandao is once again looking statuesque and is a close second. If it weren't for the size difference, he would probably even be first, because he's bringing the cuts. Just look at the thigh separation, and the proportions are sublime. Iain, Krizo, and Hunter all look good here too, but it's a weak shot for Bonac, who doesn't have much V-taper. The side chest is a much better pose for William. He looks a lot thicker up top, and his arms from the outside appear absolutely immense. The conditioning could be a little crisper though. By his standards, this isn't great. And those hamstrings need to come up to match the enormous glutes. Hamstrings were also a major weak point for Andrew. He really falls off fast when they turn to the side. The upper body looks great, but the lower half is the worst out of everyone. I actually think that Krizo fills it out the best. His chest, delts, and arms are all huge, with some good roundness and separation, and the legs are decently thick as well. Needs better conditioning in the lower half, though. Iain Valliere is the best in that regard, but I'm not a big fan of how he's presenting the upper body. It looks like he needs to open up a bit to show more width. I get that he was probably angling himself towards the head judge, but from this vantage point, the posing looks slightly off. Labrada and Brandao both look good, but not great. I'm disappointed with Hunter's conditioning here. He was much sharper last year. From the back, though, he does fare a little better. He beats Andrew Jacked simply because the lower body alone. Andrew has the bigger, more rippling back muscles, but the glutes and hams were way too soft. Iain and Krizo are both surprisingly similar here. I give Krizo the edge up top, but Iain a slight edge downstairs. The arms and shoulders go to Krizo too, so I gotta put him in front. Bonac looks a little underwhelming in this one, being sandwiched between two taller bodybuilders. This was formerly a knockout blow for him, but this year, I don't know, the back doesn't look as big or as detailed as it used to be. He's still got the best lower body here, but it's not enough to win the pose. Amazingly, Rafael Brandao is taking it. Despite giving up a ton of muscle to some of these other guys, his back is just so neatly separated, the legs are tight, and the shoulders look exceptional right now. The arms might suffer a bit, especially standing next to someone like Krizo, but that's about the only complaint I can make. He looks great here. The rear lat spread is a toss-up. Nobody's really running away with it. Iain's made some modest improvements over previous outings, but he could still use some extra width and detail. Bonac likewise needs more width and taper. Andrew Jacked looks good, but this isn't nearly on par with the front version, with the lats looking a little high now. And again, the lower body conditioning isn't sufficient. It's a solid pose for Hunter. He might be the most balanced top to bottom, but no, I still think Rafael outdoes himself on this one too. Not sure if it's the angle or just this particular freeze frame, but that right lat seems to be flaring out a bit wider than the left one. Not a big deal, but just thought I would mention. Krizo looks a tad narrow here, so yeah, this is probably Brandao followed by Hunter. Or maybe Iain, I don't know. It's tough to make a call when it's this close, and the video isn't exactly crystal clear. The side tricep is a great shot for Valliere. He shows so much definition in the outer thigh and midsection, and his execution is impeccable. Unfortunately for him, the total lack of any triceps horseshoe will always prevent him from reaching the level of, say, Dorian Yates, who he's obviously trying to emulate. I think this is one you give to Hunter. It's his best pose, both in terms of presentation and the namesake body part, since he's got such a meaty outer head of the triceps. Krizo isn't far off, but he needs to pull back that shoulder just a bit to open up more like Labrada. We shouldn't be seeing any part of his back right now. Bonac's been so much better in this one. It pains me to see how much he's diminished. Andrew Jacked is once again just way too thin below the waist. Part of that might just be posing. If he squatted down more, it might give the illusion of a hanging hamstring, but as it is, this isn't good enough. When he turns to the front, it's much improved, since now he brings the quads and abs back into play, two of his strongest muscle groups. Rafael also looks pretty good now. The abs and thigh goes to Andrew, then Brandao, and then probably Hunter or Iain. Krizo and William are both a little too wide through the waist, and neither of them has a good set of abs. So they move Brandao in towards the middle, and yeah, no shit, you think? Honestly, so far, I think I have Brandao as the front runner. In retrospect, his 10th place finish doesn't seem high enough, because from a conditioning standpoint, he was owning them. Yeah, he's a little too light, but other than that, what was he lacking? He was strong, or at least decent in every pose, and his structure and shape are perhaps only superseded by Andrew Jacked. So, to be honest, I think Hunter was given a bit of a gift here. But in the most muscular, this is one pose where Rafael's lack of mass comes back to bite him. He looks ripped, but a little on the small side. For me, Krizo, Hunter, and Andrew Jacked are the top three here. William looks full and massive also, and you could make an argument for him too, since pound for pound, nobody was packing more muscle on their frame. So after that, they swap out Rafa for Iain and run them through the poses yet again. Iain definitely gets a better look now without having the distraction of those other bodybuilders in the background. Conversely, you can see how Brandao doesn't stand out as much as before. This remains an easy win for Andrew, but now I would have Krizo coming in second. The front lat spread is now Brandao though, since Andrew doesn't appear to be opening up all the way. He's not filling it out as much as before. Krizo actually fares really well standing next to Valliere here. Iain's chest looks kinda puny in comparison, although his taper is better. The side chest still goes to Krizo in my book. Despite the horrid coloring and mediocre conditioning, he is just so big and complete. Body part for body part, he has the least weaknesses here. Hunter and Iain are both a little flat through the chest, while William and Andrew lack hamstring sweep. Only Brandao is similarly balanced, except he's significantly smaller. So yeah, controversial call, and my assessment could very well change with some better quality HD pics, but based on this footage, it's Krizo for the win. The back double is still Brandao, then Krizo, then Hunter or Iain, and then probably William, with Andrew unfortunately relegated to last for the subpar lower body. If he was drier, he could be outright winning because the muscle is all there, it's just simply too soft. Labrada's tan, it has to be said, is a little overdone. It looks like honey barbecue sauce, and while that's still preferable to Krizo's too light skin tone, it's not ideal. That said, he's probably first or second in this pose after Brandao. So they flip Iain and Rafael around again. I guess the judges were really having a tough time deciding between the two. I'm glad they went with Brandao in the end, since he really nailed it and brought possibly his all-time best package to date. I'm sticking with Hunter in the side try. He's so good there, even when he's not at his best. The ab shot. Yup, it belongs to Andrew. No questions asked. And you know what? I think you gotta give him the most muscular as well. Krizo looks strong too, but doesn't have the same versatility. Andrew can hit a couple different shots equally well. Plus his frame is just untouchable. So, in the end, do I agree with these placings? Mostly, but I think a couple spots were debatable. Brandao and Andrew should have headed up this group. Bonac and Hunter should have probably dropped a spot or two, and Krizo could have been higher. But, of course, keep in mind that it's tough to judge from this crappy livestream footage, so take all of these assessments with a grain of salt. I'm sure certain guys, like Iain for instance, who is known for his graininess, looked better in person than what was coming through here. But one thing's for certain, Brandao looked amazing. And Andrew jacked as well, but only from the front. He fell off dramatically from the side and rear, which helps explain his somewhat lackluster placing. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this one. Thank you for watching, and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Would you agree that this was arguably the best second callout we've ever seen? I can't really recall a better one off the top of my head. Maybe say way back when in 1999 or something, but it's been many, many years, that's for sure. Alright, and that might be it for this 2022 Mr. Olympia. I've covered 212, Open, and Classic, which is all I ever care to follow or weigh in on. Possibly we might do that third callout as well, since it also had a couple of big names, but no guarantees. So, until next time, this has been the Tominator signing off, and I'll be back.